Okay, good morning, Algebra 2 students. This is Mrs. Carreri, and today we are going to start our Algebra 2 review. We are on Chapter 0. We are going to do section point 2, point 3, and point 4 today. Okay, so I'll do my best to be efficient and so try to follow along. So let me share my screen with you, and we'll start with section 0.2. Okay, 0.2. This should be a review for you. So essentially, we're going to start with our foiling process. Those are two binomials that we're going to multiply times each other, and we need to follow a procedure for that. So how are we going to do that? FOIL, what does that stand for? First, outer, inner, last. The first term times the first term of the second, outer times the outer, inner times the inner, last times the last. I don't exactly use exactly that, but it's something similar. I take the first term and I multiply it times both, and then I will take the second term and multiply it times both. And so if I do that, I get t squared minus 11t, and then on the other side, I get negative 9t plus 99. And then once I finish that, I need to add like terms because I'm not done yet. And I do so, I get an answer of t squared minus 20t plus 99, okay? This is not your answer. That would not be considered the most simplified form, so please make sure to remember to add like terms. Okay, let's do the next one. So I'll take this 3m and multiply it through the second binomial, and then I'll take the negative 2 and multiply it times the second binomial. Make sure you keep your negatives together, don't lose track of them all. And then I multiply out the first term, I get 12m squared plus 3m. And then I will have negative 8m minus 2. I add like terms, and I will get 12m squared minus 5m minus 2. You guys can make fun of my little m. Sometimes I add extra humps. All right, I'll pause the video and try one yourself to refresh your memory and go. All right, so what did you get? 10 all the way through, positive 2 all the way through, and I will get 30x squared plus 50x plus 6x plus 10, add like terms, 30x squared, there's only one x squared, add the two that have an x term in it, and there's only one with a integer. And there is your answer. Okay, that is our quick review of foiling. Moving on, section 0.3, let's review how to factor. The first thing we want to do when I factor, by the way, what are we trying to make sure we know how to do? I could factor and expand polynomials. Expand is what we just did when we foiled. Now we need to learn or review how to factor. Okay, so how do I factor? The first thing you need to do is look for whatever is common for all of the terms. Make your life easier and factor out all of your common, your greatest common factors for each term. And then after you do that, you should look for some patterns. The first pattern you're going to see is potentially a trinomial pattern, and I will have an x squared plus bx plus c. And in that situation, if you can find two numbers that multiply to c, they're a factor of c, and add to b, then this trinomial can be factored, okay? The second pattern you might see is where you have actually an integer in front of the x squared, and that would be a situation where you have ax squared plus bx plus c, and in that situation, you need to find a factor of the product of AC, so multiply A times C, factor it, and find two numbers that add up to B, okay? All right, that's one. And then the next, another situation you might see is you could have the difference of squares. A squared plus B squared is a situation where you need to recognize the fact that I have a difference of square pattern, and it will factor to A plus B times A minus B. Okay, so let's do some practice. And the first thing I see here is that I have a common factor between 4 and 10, and that's 2. That's the greatest common factor. And I also have an x that I have in common with both terms. So I'm going to pull out a 2x, and that will give me 2x squared plus 10. Whoops, not 10. What will it give me? 5. Okay, Miss Prairie's a little rusty. Hold on, 2x plus 5. Okay, so I pulled out the 2 because that's common between the 4 and the 10, and I pulled out an x, and it's common between both terms, and that would be my answer right here. I have nothing I could do to simplify this any further, okay? Now, B, this is in a term of, it's in a pattern of the x squared plus bx plus c, so I need to find factors of 24. So I need to find two numbers that factors are of 24 that sum to what value? -10. So notice that the fact that 24 is positive, 10 is negative. That's going to give me the indication that I need two negative numbers. Two negative numbers times each other are going to be positive. And you could go through this table and create, and I say, okay, so the sum of that is -25. So that's not going to work for me, but hopefully you start to see that I have -6 and -4. Multiply times each other, it gives me +24. So that's the factors that I'm looking for. If I add them together, what do I get? I get 10. So there's my there's the winning combination right there. Okay, so I'm going to take y, I'm going to subtract 6, and I'm going to take y, and I'm going to subtract 4. Okay, I usually, when I do factoring, I always double check my work. So after I factor, I do quick mental math in my head to make sure that that would multiply out using foiling to get me the trinomial that I originally started for. I highly encourage you to do that. Hopefully you can do that quickly, right? We don't want to waste too much time, but double check your work mentally if that's possible. That's how I would do it. Okay, so we're moving on. Pause the video and try C. Okay, so now that you've paused to come back, let's go ahead and try C. So this is again in the same form, x squared plus bx plus c. And so I need to find the factor of -35 that adds to 2. Okay, so factors of 35 that sum to a +2. So 35 is negative, so I'm going to probably have a negative value and a positive value, and they need to add up to a negative number. So a positive number. So my positive number is going to be greater than my negative number in that situation. And so you can go through all the different factor combinations, but -5 and 7 add up to a +2. So there's my winning combination. And so I would have m plus 7 times m minus 5, okay? Times the quantity of m minus 5, I should say. All right, moving on. D. In D, we have a situation where w is squared, and we should notice that 81 is the square of 9. So that is in this difference of square pattern. So this is a squared value, this is a squared value, and in that situation, I would have to w plus 9 and w minus 9. And so there is my answer. And I should have circled. It is always wise to circle your answer. Okay, continuing on to E. E, at first glance, you say to yourself, okay, I've got the x squared plus bx plus c. But the other thing you might notice is that I have a common factor amongst all of the terms. And so since that's the case, to make your life easier, I would highly recommend you pull that factor out, and that would be a 2. So let's pull a 2 out of all of this. Nope. And did I pull out enough? I could have pulled out a what? I could have pulled out a 4. So let's pull out a 4. Let's pull out a 4, x squared plus 5x plus 6. Okay, so now that I pulled out the greatest common factor, okay, just because I could have pulled out a 2 doesn't mean that's the best one. Pull out the greatest one, the one that will make your life the easiest. That's what we're trying to do. All right, so I pulled out a 4, And now I have a trinomial that I need to factor. And I have to ask myself, since it's in the x squared plus bx plus c, I got to take and find factors of 6 that multiply times each other that add up to 5. So what can we do? So 2 times 3 adds together to be a 5. So that looks like the winning combination. So x plus 2 times x plus 3. And that is because both the values are positive. Okay, moving on to F. All right, F. Now we're getting into the ones that truly have the a x squared plus bx plus c, and so I've got to figure that out. Now we're going to teach you a little bit of a slide and divide technique, okay? And I want you, there's a link to another video that goes in more detail about that. I will work them out and hopefully it makes sense, okay? So the first thing I notice is I need to find a multiple of a times c. I'm sorry, factors of a times c. What is a times c? A times c is 12. Okay, so I've got to find factors of 12 that add up to 7. Okay, and if I find a factor of 12 that adds up to 7, then I know that I can factor this, by the way. Okay, so I could have 1 and 2, or 1 and 12. That doesn't add up to 7, so that doesn't work. And I go through that process and I find 3 times 4. That adds up to 12, right? 3 plus 4 is 12, and 3 times 4 is 12. Oh, 3 plus 4 is 7. It's always fun to type, record, and do math in your head at the same time. Okay, now, so I have the situation. I have a factor of 12. 3 times 4 are factors of 12 that add up to 7. So I've met my requirement. I know I can factor this trinomial. Now what do I do? All right, so this is how I would do it. I would start off with writing this first term exactly how it was. Keep that 2. 2r, I want you to put a plus 3, and then 2r plus 4, okay? All right, now I'm going to divide by the original number in the first term, which was 2, and I got to get rid of it, okay? And I don't want fractions, I want whole numbers. So where can I divide that by? I'm either going to have to divide it through this entire portion on the left or this entire portion on the right. And I noticed that if I divide it through the portion on the right, I have whole numbers, and that's what I'm trying to get. So I have 2r plus 3 times r plus 2. And that is my answer, okay? That is a simplified form of doing slide and divide. Let's do another one together, okay? Not sure where that came from. Let's continue on. All right, so here is letter G. All right, so I'm in that format of a x squared plus bx plus c. I need to find a factor of a. I have to multiply a times c, which is 24. And the factors of 24 must add up to what? Negative 11. Okay, so negative 11, and then I have a positive. So the two values are going to be they're going to be negative. So that's going to give me, sure enough, I can multiply negative 3 times negative 8. That'll give me a positive 24. And negative 3 plus negative 8 gives me what? Negative 11. So I know I can factor this trinomial. All right, so this is a slide and divide technique, by the way. Okay, keep the 6, x minus 3. Keep the 6, x minus 8. Now, what do I need to divide by? The original number, 6. I got to get rid of this original number. And I need whole numbers. So I'm either going to divide it over on the right. Well, that doesn't work, because 8 cannot be divided by 6 to give me a whole number. And it doesn't work on the left, right? It doesn't work on the left because if I divide 3 by 6, I don't get a whole number. So that doesn't work. But what happens if I take the 6 and I break it down into, a 3 and a 2? 3 times 2 is 6, right? So what happens, now I can divide this by 3 and get whole numbers. And I can divide this by 2 and get whole numbers. And that's exactly how I'm going to do it. So now I have 2x minus 1 times 3x minus 4. And that is my answer. Okay, I hope that makes sense to you. Why don't you stop the video and work this problem on your notes and see if you get it right. And use the slide and divide. And again, if you need additional help, please go to the link that I've given you in today's lesson on a video specifically for the slide and divide method. Okay, so let's see how you did. All right, so the first thing I needed to do is take A times C and find multiple. Actually, no, let's make our life easier, right? What should we do? Is there a common factor? What's the greatest common factor in all of these? That would be a 2. So I'm going to pull a 2 out. 2 times 10x squared minus 13x minus 3. Okay, so now A times C is equal to negative 30, has to add to negative 13. So now I got to find factors of negative 30 that add to 13. If I can't find it, then it can't be factored, by the way. Okay, but we can actually find that. And how can I find that? That'd be negative 15 and a positive 2. Those add together to give me a negative 13, and they multiply times each other to give me negative 30. So I have a winning combination. Now let's continue on with our process. So what do? I take my 10, I hold it there. 10x minus 15 times 10x plus 2. Okay, don't forget this 2. You pulled it out originally. If you leave it, you're wrong. Okay, that's one of the things I like about math. It's either 100% right or it's 100% wrong. Okay, so 10x minus 15, 10x plus 2, but we're not finished. We have to divide by that original first term, which is 10, and I have to have a whole number, okay? And I see that I can't divide, neither one of these binomials can be divided by 10 exactly and give me whole numbers. So I'm going to have to break this 10 up, right? I'm going to break it up into a 5 and a 2. And I'm going to divide this one by 5. I'm going to divide this one by 2. And I will have my answer. So 10 divided by 5 is 2x minus 3. And then 10 divided by 2 is 5 plus 2.